The greater access, or what you have attained of those resources, pushes you up the quality of life hill. Okay? And again, we equate that to dollars, not to the dollar itself, not to what this is, the paper, the dead guy, but to what it represents. $10 worth of fuel, $10 worth of education, $10 worth of food, $10 worth of resource. Okay? Now, the individuals at the top of this quality of life hill, they're doing okay. Right? Now again, they may not necessarily be happy. All right? They may not necessarily be loved. But in terms of the creature comforts, material comforts, they're doing okay. Individuals on the top, or individuals perceivingly moving towards the top, those individuals are more inclined, although not 100%, but more inclined to want to conserve the system. Keep it the way it is. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right? The system is working for these individuals. How do we know that? They're at the top. Right, exactly. They're at the top. The system has worked for this group of individuals, and they're at the top. Now again, don't get caught in the buts, there are individuals who are quite wealthy, have great access to resources, who still advocate for changing government. Okay? But they would be the minority because it's irrational to want to move down the hill. And a lot of times, when individuals at the top are advocating for change, it's okay to have change as long as you don't impact where I am. Right? You want to impress me, you can advocate for, a government that's more based on equality. Before you start pitching that from the top, give away everything you have, then make that pitch. And it'll be much louder and probably followed much more closely. But it's easy for somebody who has everything to sit there and say, the government needs to do more. Give up what you have before, again, making these broad claims of what government ultimately should do. And again, lead by example. And individuals do that. Not very often, but they do that. Okay, so don't get caught up in the outlet, because they're out there, okay? Same is true down here. What we might perceive as an individual from down here doesn't have two nickels rubbed together, yet they still do not advocate for the change in the system. They want to keep it the way it is. Last government, living government, very, articulate advocates for keeping things the way they are, even though the system itself has not benefited them. They're there. Again, the minority, but they're there. And I'm sure you probably know this one guy, or I know this one person. They're the Yabbas. All right? Conserve where we are, conservatives. Change where we are. I call them the changatives, but it doesn't work that way. This is where your liberals are. So liberals and conservatives. Individuals perceiving they're moving up, see the plan, working the plan, more likely to be conservative. Individuals who at the bottom do not perceive themselves moving up, or are someplace up but perceive themselves moving down, they're going to be advocates for change, wanting to change the system. A lot of talk about 2008, in prior election, of changing the system. We want change, hope in change. And again, the appeal was certainly, at least to the masses, from the individuals, Democrat individuals, liberal individuals. We'll address Democrats in a second, but also the individuals in the middle. All right, so maybe there was a perception, at least in the middle class, that they're sliding down the hill. They're not moving up the hill. And then a message of change, a message of hope resonates. And those individuals who, again, someplace in the center, centrist voters, make those decisions that. Now, if the perception is that this group of individuals, things are okay, we're moving up, all right, maybe that message of change would not have been the right message. But in 2008, given the economy, given the situation of really just the general outlook, you can see how that message of hope and change would resonate with a broad number of individuals. Not these people up here. I'm doing fine. Change? Hey, I hope you don't change. They're fine. Conservative system. And that's that quality of life hill. Okay. That is one spectrum between change and no change. It's very easy to pull the concept of conservative liberal and call those political ideologies. And to some degree, they do have a connection to government. But not only the role of government, as much as the system itself, keeping the system or changing the system. My set of beliefs regarding the system, the structure, how things work. A limited government, which I guess would be within, broader than the role, or a government that's more that's bigger, that's more able to act for the good of the individual, whatever. All right, and so again, this is at one spectrum. This spectrum has to do with equality and freedom, because government can make you more equal, government can make you more free, but government cannot make you more equal and more free at the same time. Unless the resources we have access to go up, become less scarce, right? So the need for government goes down, and the share of the resources becomes more equal. Government cannot, with the limited resources we have, make you more free and more equal at the same time. So the spectrum. You move from left to right. It's a zero-sum game. For every step I take to the left, I've got to take one away from the right, and vice versa. Okay? So when I'm at 100% equality, how much freedom do I have? Zero. Exactly. Very good. Zero freedom. Zero freedom. And when I'm at 100% freedom, zero equality. Now, individuals may say, well, yes, but we're all equally free. But the problem with that concept is you're basing it upon the idea that we're all equal to begin with. That without government, you and I would be able to share the limited resources in an equitable manner. That there would not be jungle law. That I would not take what I believed I needed, particularly if there was no government there to stop me. What's that? Exactly. The other thing that ultimately happens, because I'm sure that's tongue-in-cheek, is that people do things like eat other people when there's there's not, what do you do with the Jeffrey Dahmers? Do you treat this individual as an equal? No, exactly. And the odd thing about that is once you start making decisions as to who's okay and who's not okay in the system, what you're doing is you're making laws. Who's making those laws? You're right back to deciding who gets what. You're back to government, right? So it's very difficult to get, you can wax poetically about this concept of anarchy and the ideas of no government, but then what do you do with just, people who are people? People who act like people, do dumb things, do things in their self-interest, which we recognize, and do things like eat other people, or steal children, or whatever. What do you do with those people? Steal the children, steal the children, eat the children. Now what do you do with those people? Write fairy tales about. All right, so you understand that this concept of 100% freedom would have to be predicated, that we'd all be equally free. It would have to be predicated on first that we're all equal and that we all would act rationally, and that just does not happen. The concept of equality leading to freedom, again, would work if the resources that we have, our wants and our needs, could be fully satisfied. That I could have as much of whatever it is that I wanted without infringing upon you in any way, without having to take your children or without having to eat your spouse. And as such, then we could probably attain this concept of 100% equality. But our needs and our wants go beyond our resources, and therefore our freedom would have to be hampered to get to that 100% equality. Okay, so the extremes, the ends, may sound utopian, but the ability to get there, there are definitely pitfalls. Well, that leads someplace in the center. And that's really where most individuals are. Not just someplace in the center, but in the United States, where we value both the concept of equality and the concept of freedom. Most individuals in America are someplace in the center. And it's not a bell curve. It's not an average. It's what we would call a unimodal distribution of population. You don't have to write that down.